Today I'm reviewing the Sivga Peng wooden closed back headphones. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews, and you can see the Sivga Peng here. This is the latest release from these guys. They specialize in these wooden crafted headphones. The price of the Peng here is $495, but I've already seen it cheaper online there's some sales going on at the moment, so look around if you're interested in buying these. So inside of here we got a 50mm LCP sapphire composite diaphragm, which is a single dynamic driver, but a nice large one. And there you can see the build. It's nice. The Earcups rotate 180 degrees, which is awesome. And the headphones are built around the frame of this spring steel headband. Now this headband is lambskin. It feels really nice and soft, quite premium. There is a little bit of padding on the underside. You don't need a lot because it has a large surface area, so it distributes weight or pressure evenly across the top of your head. The clamping force is reasonably light, so they don't feel tight on your head at all. The construction feels really good. These are quite lightweight. When I say lightweight, let me get the number for you. It's 341 grams. That might not sound all that lightweight, but considering the Sivga P2 Pro comes in at 435, which is roughly 100 grams more, you can see that, they've made some weight savings with this one. So all the components here are nice aluminium. The build feels really good. There is not an ounce of sound. No creaking, no twisting sounds whatsoever come from the headphones, which is really nice. And of course, with the Earcups being wooden, it means that every single Peng headphone has its own unique grain and pattern on those Earcups as well. This is the cable that comes with the headphones. It's a 6N OCC copper cable with a 4.4mm balance termination. Inside the case, which I'll show you now because it's a nice one, you get this nice sort of semi-rigid case inside. In here there is a 4.4mm balance to a 3.5mm single-ended adapter, so if you only have a single-ended source you can still use the headphones. And then on the connector end you've got standard 3.5mm connectors. It is a nice cable. It handles really well. It's a good length for the desktop, and it's exactly what I've sort of would expect to find with a pair of Sivga headphones. Really nice quality cable. But back to the headphones now, and I'm going to dive right into the sound. I'll start by saying that these are reasonably easy to drive. You don't need a particularly powerful source. Even a dongle DAC will be sufficient in most cases to drive these nicely. And in terms of sound signature, the Peng has a fairly laid back and mature tuning. It doesn't go out of its way to sort of grab your attention, at least not immediately. It doesn't try to impress with this really sparkly treble or an oversized powerful bass, but instead it takes a more grounded approach. It focuses on balance and tone. The mid-range is the star of the show here. The mid-range is smooth, it's gently weighted, and has a nice natural quality that makes vocals and acoustic instruments feel nice and honest and uncolored, albeit slightly warmer than neutral. The treble has a nice soft edge, but it's still present. There's absolutely no harshness in the treble, and there is enough air in the treble to keep things from sounding closed in, despite having closed back Earcups. But the bass is tastefully restrained, and that makes a big difference in keeping the sound fairly open and reasonably spacious, which is important with a closed back headphone. Not always, like certain things like the FIO FT1 manage to have a big powerful bass without being overpowering or overly resonant. But let's dive into the bass a bit further. So the bass here, it's not loud or aggressive, but it's not weak either. It plays things pretty safe in terms of bass tuning. It has a smooth and controlled low end, but there's no boom, there's no muddiness in the bass, and it doesn't really bleed into the mids. It's more about giving the music a bit of warmth and a bit of weight rather than sort of hitting you with a wow bass impact. The sub bass is pretty light though, so there's more focus on the mid bass than the sub bass. So the extension is decent, but you get a very light sub bass rumble with these headphones. But I think it's a bass tuning that works quite well for closed back headphones. Let's move on to the mid-range, and yeah, that's where the Peng really shines. The mids are full-bodied, they're smooth, they have a warm and slightly relaxed tone. They don't go for super sharp detail or extreme instrument separation, but what it does do instead, it focuses on making instruments and vocals sound natural and very easy to listen to. So everything sits together nicely in the mids without feeling too compressed or blended or too far apart and diffuse. Vocals are nice and clear, they're nicely positioned in the stage, just a bit warm around the edges, and it's not a mid-range that sort of jumps out at you, but it's consistent, it's coherent, it's pleasant, and it's easy to listen to for, hours at a time. Now for the treble sits nicely with the rest of the sound, i.e. the bass and the mid-range. It's nice and a fairly balanced sound signature from bottom to top. The treble is not harsh nor bright in the least, but it's also not especially crisp or sparkly. So the treble is tuned for smoothness over detail, and in that sense it does the job well, but the trade-off of that is that it doesn't sound particularly lively or open. And because of this, the overall clarity is slightly on the soft side. Some instruments, especially higher pitched instruments, don't sound as sharp or as clean as they could be. But the treble doesn't feel out of place. It matches, like I said, the bass and the mid-range nicely. It keeps everything sounding very cohesive, and it's clearly a deliberate choice, the treble tuning, and one that makes the Peng easy on the ears. So it's good for a daily driver. When you've only got one pair of headphones and you just have to listen to them all day long, these are perfect for that because they just don't get fatiguing no matter what you're doing, whether it be gaming, music, movies, all that stuff. And then finally for the Soundstage and technicalities, well, the Soundstage is reasonably modest, which is what you expect from closed backs. It does have, like I said, a coherent sound which creates a fairly intimate but an inviting space. Instrument separation, however, is really good, and the spatial positioning or the imaging is nice and precise, so it's easy to pinpoint instruments and vocals within that perceived soundstage. And these are also quite good for gaming. I've done a bunch of gaming with these headphones as well. The detail retrieval is fairly modest, which is what you should expect for something with a slightly warmer tonality like the Peng here. And overall, it's just got a really nice earthy organic sound. No comparisons here today because I'm in a bit of a rush. I will just say, compared to the Sivga Answer, I would say the Peng here sounds slightly more refined. It is not as energetic or as upfront, but it just sounds, the resolution is slightly better. It's a little bit smoother. It doesn't have as much bite in the upper mid-range. So once again, it's just buttery smooth, but still has pretty good clarity and articulation. And I think I'll wrap it up there. So thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Pa Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button before you go. Now, there will probably be some of you wishing there was comparisons, especially maybe with other Sivga headphones, and if that's the case, just leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer any queries about these headphones. So anyway, until next time, I'll see you later.